Key teachings. Teachings within the Lanka cover a wide range of Mahayana concepts cast within a Yogacara or mind-only and Tathagata or Buddha nature context. Throughout, the stress is on attaining the inner enlightenment that thoroughly understands the illusory nature of all duality and distinctions. The many teachings include the major teachings that a bodhisattva is expected to be conversant with, the nature of the purification of the mind, the bodhisattva path and its 10 stages, the meaning of emptiness, the teaching method of a Buddha, the nature of consciousness, the nature of the path to liberation, the difference between nirvana and enlightenment, the cultivation of Buddha knowledge, the 3 bodies of the Buddha, what mind only means, the 2 kinds of no self, what bodhisattvas are to teach others, the nature of causation, the 3 means of knowledge, the 2 modes of reality, the meaning of silence when teaching, the use of skillful means, the nature of the 10 delusions, the use of words and phrases, the one path teaching, and the goals of practice. This section expands on 10 of these teachings. The one path is the path that points directly to the mind, which is the hallmark of Chan or Zen. The mind-only doctrine of Yogacara Buddhism teaches that the world and its contents are but manifestations of the mind, or more exactly, only mind. If a correct doctrine, it changes our perception of the dharmas, which include all things we think are real, whether tangible, intangible, or imaginary, and our everyday common sense duality of observer and observed. They are all nothing but manifestations of the mind, or only mind, and a source of ignorance. According to the sutra, quote, "Our mind is the world, and the world is our mind. If the world were a manifestation of the mind, they would be different, but they are neither one nor different." Close quote. Nonetheless, the sutra uses the word manifestation or projection to facilitate the teaching. Liberation consists of becoming aware that the world and our mind are neither one nor different. As in Zen, the sutra points directly at the mind, for mind itself is the only reality. The Lanka describes as well the 8 layers of consciousness that consist of 6 sense consciousnesses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and conceptual consciousness, and 2 subconscious consciousnesses, a manas and a repository. The 8th, or repository consciousness, or alaya vijnana, acts like a receptacle into which the latent karmic energy of past and present habitual tendencies or ingrained dispositions are deposited into, stored, and at times reactivated. The Tathagata doctrine. The concept of Tathagata or Buddha nature is a key Mahayana doctrine that holds that all sentient beings, as soiled as they may be, contain the potential to become a Buddha within them, though in a hidden, non-manifest form. In this form, it represents the germ of liberation that we all innately have. While Tathagata is said for expedient reasons to be a real essence that is eternal and immutable, it is, at base, equivalent to emptiness and the nature of the mind itself. The 3 bodies of the Buddha, or Trikaya doctrine. This doctrine proposes that the Buddha, like all Buddhas, exists in 3 forms. In his true nature, known as the truth body or Dharmakaya, he is the eternal essence of the universe, which is equivalent in Buddhist lore to ultimate truth or absolute reality. When teaching the Dharma, he takes on one of 2 forms appropriate to his audience. In his enjoyment body, or Sambhogakaya, he manifests in a sublime celestial form, in which he teaches vast numbers of bodhisattvas and supernatural beings in settings of exquisite splendor in multiple Buddha lands. When he teaches human beings, he manifests himself as his emanation or earthly body, Nirmanakaya, in order to not frighten his audience. In contrast, in Theravada Buddhism, the Buddha is regarded as a human being, though remarkable in his achievements. The non-self or anatman doctrine. According to this doctrine, neither sentient beings nor objects have an independent self-nature, for they are but manifestations of the mind, or mind itself. Clinging to concepts of an ego is considered the cause of all suffering, and a belief that must be overcome. The use of words and letters in teaching the Dharma. A distinguishing stress in Zen is the uselessness of the intellectual analysis of sutras alone for the attainment of liberation. For the transmission of the Dharma between master and student ultimately takes place outside words and letters. The rationale is that words themselves cannot exhaust meaning inherent in truth. Nonetheless, the use of words and letters plays an essential role in rudimentary phases of the teaching. Once they have fulfilled their purpose, they are put aside. The emptiness or sunyata doctrine. In a Yogacaran context, emptiness is the realization of the non-existence of observer and observed. The concept recognizes that all composite things are devoid of a self-nature or independent substance or svabhava. They are nothing more than appearances in the mind. The no-birth view of existence or anatpada. If human beings, like dogs and cats, are just projections of mind, or only mind, that makes no sense to talk about their birth and death as if they were physical beings. As expressed in the sutra, quote, O Mahamate, it is taught by the Tathagatas of the past, future, and present that all things are unborn. Why? All things are unborn because they are the manifestations of our own mind and have no reality of their own. Close quote. While birth and death are well-known features of the relative, discriminative world, they do not exist in the absolute world, a realm beyond the senses that is supreme wisdom. The nature of a Tathagata. Since the nature of the Buddha as the Tathagata is stressed throughout the Lanka, practitioners should have some understanding of what is emphasized by this title for the Buddha. Rather than using words like I, me, or myself, the Buddha often refers to himself as the Tathagata, one who has the nature of thusness in his comings and goings. While the Tathagata has attained enlightenment or bodhi and awakened to the nature of reality, he importantly also has the will and compassion to liberate all beings by leading them to the direct experience of reality. This attitude separates the Tathagata from arhats and other practitioners who focus on liberation for themselves. He does this in part by taking different forms so as to be able to teach a wide variety of beings most effectively. While he is known by many names in these diverse settings, there is only one Tathagata, or so it is said, as an expedient means in teaching. According to Suzuki, when we have mastered this phase of Buddha's teaching, quote, we have mastered more than half of its secrets, close quote. The Lanka's influence on diet in China. The Lanka also influenced the attitude of the Chinese toward the eating of meat. Among the many reasons offered in the sutra for why one should not eat meat are, as humans go through cycles of transmigration, a close relative, such as one's deceased mother, could have been reborn in an animal form, so eating meat could mean eating one's mother. Since the essence of bodhisattvaship is great compassion for all sentient beings, a bodhisattva should not eat the flesh of another sentient being. The eating of meat causes terror among animals, so people will turn away from a teacher who contributes to the terrorization of animals by eating meat. Since animal flesh is considered filled with pollutants, a person on the spiritual path should not eat meat to avoid possible contagions. Likewise, meat eating not only pollutes a meat eater, but their descendants. The proper food for bodhisattvas is rice, barley, wheat, all kinds of beans, clarified butter, oil, honey, molasses, and sugar prepared in prescribed ways. The Buddha in his Dharmakaya body is said to be fed by the food of truth or Dharmahara.